The cafe door chimed and Lena Carter's world stopped. 4 years of hiding, 4 years of careful lies, 4 years of pretending the past was dead, all shattered by the sight of one man sitting 3 tables away. Adrian Moretti, the Mafia boss she'd fled, the father who didn't know his daughter existed, and judging by the way his dark eyes locked onto the small girl clutching Lena's hand, he was about to find out. Some secrets don't stay buried, some men don't stop hunting, and some truths change everything. If you're ready to discover what happens when the past refuses to let go, stay with me until the end. And when you do, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And then, the November wind cut through Chicago like a blade, sharp enough to make Lena Carter pull her daughter closer as they hurried down Michigan Avenue. 4 years in this city, and she still wasn't used to winters that felt like punishment. But cold was safe. Cold was far from Miami's humid nights and the memories that haunted them. "Mama, can we get hot chocolate?" Mia's voice was bright despite the weather, her small hand tucked firmly in Lena's. At 3 years old, she saw the world as an adventure waiting to happen, not a minefield to navigate. "After we pick up the flowers, sweet girl." Lena smiled down at her daughter, taking in those striking dark eyes that always seemed too knowing for such a young face. Eyes that saw everything. Eyes that sometimes made Lena's heart stop because they looked exactly like... No. She wouldn't think about him. Not today, not ever. The flower shop where Lena worked was still 2 blocks away, but the cafe on the corner was already glowing with warm light, its windows fogged with steam. Lena had passed it 100 times without stopping, but today Mia was shivering, and the promise of warmth was too tempting to resist. "Okay," Lena relented, pushing open the door. "Quick stop, 5 minutes." The cafe was crowded with the morning rush. Business people grabbing coffee, students hunched over laptops, the usual urban symphony of espresso machines and murmured conversations. Lena found a small table near the back, settling Mia into a chair before joining the line at the counter. She was watching her daughter color on a napkin with crayons the barista had provided when she felt it. That prickling sensation at the base of her neck. The instinct that had kept her alive, kept her running, kept her hidden for 4 years. Someone was watching her. Lena turned slowly, scanning the cafe with practiced casualness. Her heart was already racing, already preparing for flight. She'd mapped every exit in this place within seconds of entering. The front door, the back hallway leading to the restrooms, and presumably a rear exit, even the distance to the counter where she could grab Mia and... Her breath stopped. 3 tables away, partially obscured by a businessman reading the Tribune, sat a man who made every instinct in Lena's body scream run. Adrian Moretti. 4 years hadn't softened him. If anything, he looked harder, sharper, like a blade that had been honed to perfection. His black hair was shorter than she remembered, swept back from a face that belonged on Roman statues, all strong lines and aristocratic features that would have been beautiful if they weren't so dangerous. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Lena made in 6 months, tailored perfectly to shoulders that she remembered too well. But it was his eyes that trapped her. Dark, intense, intelligent eyes that had seen her the moment she walked in. Eyes that were currently locked on something with an expression Lena had never seen before. He was looking at Mia. Terror flooded through Lena's veins like ice water. She moved without thinking, crossing the space between them in seconds, positioning herself between Adrian and her daughter with a mother's fierce instinct. "Don't." Her voice came out low, shaking. "Don't even look at her." Adrian rose slowly, unfolding from his chair with the controlled grace of a predator. He was taller than she remembered, or maybe she'd just forgotten what it felt like to stand in his presence, to be dwarfed not just by his height, but by the sheer force of his personality, the power that radiated from him like heat. "Lena." Her name on his lips was a statement, a question, an accusation. 4 years. Stay away from us. She was shaking now, hands clenched at her sides. "I'll scream. I'll call the police. I'll buzz." Her eyes. Adrian's voice cut through her panic like a knife. "She has my eyes." The world tilted. Lena felt the ground shift beneath her feet, felt every carefully constructed lie begin to crumble. Because he knew. Looking at Mia's face, At those distinctive dark eyes that were mirrors of his own, Adrian Moretti knew exactly what Lena had been hiding. I don't know what you're talking about. The lie tasted like ash. Don't! The single word carried enough weight to silence her. Adrian took a step closer, and Lena saw something flicker across his face. Not anger, not threat, but something that looked almost like pain. Don't insult us both with lies. Not about this. Mama? Mia's small voice cut through the tension. I'm cold. Lena spun, forcing her expression into something resembling calm as she hurried back to their table. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely help Mia into her coat. They needed to leave. Now. Before Adrian could say anything else. Before the careful world she'd built came crashing down around them. But when she turned toward the door, Adrian was there, blocking her path with 6 feet of immovable determination. We need to talk. His voice was quiet, controlled, but Lena heard the steel beneath it. Not here. Not in front of... His gaze flickered to Mia, and something shifted in his expression. Not in front of her. There's nothing to talk about. Lena clutched Mia's hand tighter. We're leaving. You've been in Chicago for 4 years. It wasn't a question. 4 years, Lena. 4 years you kept her from me. The accusation in his voice sparked something hot and fierce in Lena's chest, burning through the fear. Kept her from you? I saved her from you, from your world, from everything you are. Everything I was. The correction was sharp. You don't know what I know enough. Lena cut him off. I know what you do, what you're capable of, and I will never let my daughter anywhere near that world. Something dangerous flashed in Adrian's eyes. A glimpse of the man she remembered, the one who commanded an empire, who made grown men tremble, who could end lives with a word. But then it was gone, replaced by something Lena couldn't read. Your daughter, he repeated slowly. Is that what you tell yourself? That she's only yours? She's mine because I'm the one who's been here, the one who held her when she was sick, who taught her to walk, who reads her stories every night. You're nothing to her but a stranger. Because you made me one. Adrian's voice dropped to a whisper, but it carried the force of a shout. You made that choice for all of us. You decided I didn't deserve to know I had a... He stopped, jaw clenching. What's her name? Lena's throat tightened. That's none of your business. Her name, Lena. Mia. The admission felt like defeat. Her name is Mia. Adrian's expression transformed. Just for a moment, Lena saw something crack in his carefully controlled facade, something raw and vulnerable and utterly devastating. He looked at Mia again, really looked at her, and Lena watched her daughter stare back with innocent curiosity. Hello, Mia. Adrian's voice was different now, softer, gentle in a way Lena had never heard before. My name is Adrian. Hi, Mia smiled, completely unaware of the earthquake happening around her. Do you know my mama? I do. Adrian crouched down, bringing himself to Mia's eye level with a grace that seemed impossible for a man his size. We're old friends. We're not friends. Lena's voice was sharp. She grabbed Mia's hand again, pulling her daughter close. We're leaving, and if you follow us, if you come near her again, You'll what? Adrian stood slowly, and suddenly Lena was reminded of exactly who she was threatening. Run again? Hide in another city? Change your names again? His eyes held hers. I found you once, Lena. Do you really think you can disappear again? The threat hung in the air between them, sharp and undeniable. Lena's mind raced through possibilities, through escape plans she'd kept ready for exactly this moment. She had emergency bags packed, false documents prepared, enough cash hidden to get them out of the state. She could be gone by tonight, vanished into another life in another city where, I'm not here to hurt you, Adrian's voice cut through her planning. Or her. I'm here because... He stopped, seeming to struggle with words. We need to talk, somewhere private, tomorrow. Name the place. No. Lena, no. She pushed past him, clutching Mia against her side. Stay away from us. I mean it. She made it to the door, made it outside into the bitter November wind before she heard his voice one last time. I know about the flower shop. The apartment on Ashland Avenue. The daycare on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. Adrian's words stopped her cold. I've known where you were for 3 months, Lena. If I wanted to hurt you, I would have done it already. Lena turned slowly, heart hammering against her ribs. Adrian stood in the cafe doorway, backlit by warm light, looking like something out of a nightmare she'd been running from for 4 years. Tomorrow, he repeated. Noon. The Art Institute. Public. Neutral. Safe. Just conversation. And if I don't come? Something flickered across Adrian's face. Not threat, not anger, but something that looked almost like resignation. Then I'll assume you want me to handle this through lawyers and custody battles instead of like adults who share a child. The words hit like a physical blow. Custody battles. Lawyers. The legal system where Adrian's money and power would crush her like an insect. Where a man with his resources could prove she'd been hiding his daughter, could paint her as unstable, could take Mia away and Lena would be powerless to stop him. That's not fair, she whispered. Neither was keeping my daughter from me for 4 years. Adrian's expression was unreadable. Tomorrow, Lena. Noon. Or I make this official. He walked away then, disappearing into the morning crowd like he'd never been there at all. Lena stood frozen on the sidewalk, Mia tugging at her hand, asking questions she couldn't answer. Her carefully constructed world was crumbling, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The flower shop was a sanctuary, or it had been until today. Now Lena moved through the familiar motions, trimming stems, arranging bouquets, helping customers, while her mind spun in endless circles of panic and planning. You okay, honey? Margaret, the shop's owner, was watching her with concern. You've been jumpy all morning. Just tired. Lena forced a smile. Mia was up half the night. It was a lie. Mia had slept peacefully while Lena lay awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how her past had caught up with her so completely. 3 months. Adrian had said he'd known where she was for 3 months. 3 months of watching, waiting, learning her routines. The thought made her skin crawl. How had she not noticed? How had she become so complacent, so convinced she was safe? Why don't you take your lunch early? Margaret suggested. Get some air. You look like you could use it. Lena nodded gratefully, grabbing her coat and escaping into the cold afternoon. She walked without direction, trying to quiet the storm in her head. She should run. Pack up tonight, take Mia, and disappear before Adrian could make good on his threat. She had escape plans, contingencies, money hidden for exactly this scenario. But his words kept echoing in her mind. I found you once. Do you really think you can disappear again? And the terrible truth was, she didn't know. Adrian Moretti wasn't just rich and powerful, he commanded resources Lena couldn't even imagine. If he'd found her in Chicago after 4 years, what made her think she could hide anywhere? How many times could she uproot Mia's life before the constant running did more damage than staying ever would? Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. Lena stared at it for a long moment before answering. Hello? Don't run. Adrian's voice was calm, certain. Whatever you're planning right now, don't do it. Lena's hand tightened on the phone. How did you get this number? The same way I found you in the first place. I have resources, Lena. Resources you can't outrun. He paused. But I don't want to use them against you. I want to talk, that's all. Talk about what? About how you're going to take my daughter? About custody arrangements and visitation schedules? About how you're going to drag her into your world of violence and crime? My world? Adrian's laugh was bitter. You don't know anything about my world. Not anymore. I know enough. I know what you are, what you've always been. What I was, he corrected again. Past tense, Lena. A lot has changed in 4 years. People like you don't change. Silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. When Adrian spoke again, his voice was different, quieter, almost vulnerable. I have a daughter I've never met. A child who exists because of choices we both made, who's been kept from me through no fault of her own. He paused. Do you really think I haven't changed? That learning she exists didn't change everything? Lena closed her eyes against the sting of tears. You didn't know she existed until this morning. No, but I knew you existed, and for 4 years I've been trying to make sure you stayed safe. The words didn't make sense. What are you talking about? Tomorrow, noon. Art Institute. Adrian's tone shifted back to controlled command. Come find out what you don't know, Lena. What you've never known. About what happened after you left. About what I've done to protect you while you were busy running from me. He hung up before she could respond. Lena stood in the middle of the sidewalk, pedestrians flowing around her like water around a stone, her mind reeling with confusion and fear and something else she didn't want to name. What had happened after she left? That night, Lena sat on the edge of Mia's bed, watching her daughter sleep. The apartment was small but safe, or so she'd thought. 2 bedrooms, old radiators that clanked in the winter, windows that overlooked a quiet street in a neighborhood that had felt far enough from danger. Now she saw it differently. The ground floor location she'd thought was convenient was actually a security risk. The windows she'd loved for their natural light could be easily accessed. The fire escape she'd tested as an emergency exit could be used as an entrance just as easily. Adrian had known where she lived. For 3 months he'd known, and he hadn't acted until today. Until he'd seen Mia. Lena reached out, gently brushing dark curls away from her daughter's face. Mia stirred but didn't wake, her small chest rising and falling with the easy peace of childhood. She looked so much like Adrian it hurt. The same dark eyes, the same stubborn chin, even the way she slept. On her back, one arm flung out like she was ready to face the world even in her dreams. "I'm sorry," Lena whispered. "I'm so sorry for all of this." She'd thought she was protecting Mia by running. She'd convinced herself that raising her daughter far from Adrian's world was the only way to keep her safe. But looking at Mia now, Lena had to wonder, was she protecting her daughter, or was she just running from her own fear? 4 years ago, she'd discovered she was pregnant 2 weeks after fleeing Miami. 2 weeks after walking away from the most intense, terrifying, consuming relationship of her life. She'd been Adrian Moretti's lover for 6 months. 6 months of passion and danger. And a connection that had terrified her because it felt too much like drowning. Adrian had been everything the rumors claimed and nothing like them at the same time. Ruthless in business, commanding in every room he entered, capable of violence that made her blood run cold. But with her, he'd been different. Attentive. Protective. Possessive in ways that had felt romantic until they started feeling like chains. When she'd overheard him on the phone, talking about a shipment, about people who'd betrayed him, about consequences that made her stomach turn, Lena had finally accepted what she'd been denying. Adrian Moretti was a criminal, a mafia boss who controlled half of Miami's underworld. And she'd been living in willful ignorance, pretending the man who made love to her like she was precious wasn't the same one who ordered executions over breakfast. So she'd run, packed a bag in the middle of the night, taken every dollar she'd saved, and disappeared. She'd been good at it, changing her name, paying cash for everything, never staying in one place too long. By the time she'd realized she was pregnant, she was 3 states away and determined to stay gone. She'd never told Adrian, never even considered it, because how could she bring a child into that world? How could she let her daughter grow up surrounded by violence and crime and danger? But now, looking at Mia's sleeping face, Lena couldn't help but wonder what she'd stolen. Not just from Adrian, but from Mia herself. The right to know her father. The right to make her own choices about the man who was half of her DNA. What I've done to protect you while you were busy running from me. Adrian's words haunted her. What did he mean? What had happened in the 4 years since she'd left? Morning came too quickly. Lena got Mia ready for daycare with mechanical precision, trying to pretend this was just another Tuesday. But Mia was too perceptive, too aware of her mother's tension. "Are you sad, Mama?" she asked as Lena brushed her hair. "No, sweet girl, just thinking." "About the man from yesterday, Adrian?" Lena's hands stilled. "What made you think that?" Mia shrugged with 3-year-old wisdom. "He looked at you funny, like Daddy looks at Mommy in my storybooks." The observation hit harder than it should have. Lena finished with Mia's hair, then crouched down to her daughter's level. "Mia, if I had to go away for a little while, would you be okay staying with Miss Margaret?" Mia's face crumpled. "Where are you going?" "Just for a few hours. I have something important to do." "Can I come?" "Not this time." Lena pulled her daughter close, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. "But I promise, I'll always come back to you, always." Dropping Mia at daycare felt like tearing out her heart. Lena watched through the window as her daughter joined the other children, already smiling, already distracted. So young, so innocent, so unaware that her entire world might be about to change. The Art Institute was crowded with tourists and school groups despite the November cold. Lena arrived 20 minutes early, using the time to walk the perimeter, identify exits, convince herself she wasn't walking into a trap. She found Adrian in the modern wing, standing in front of a Rothko painting like he had all the time in the world. He looked different in daylight, still dangerous, still powerful, but there was something else there too. Something tired around his eyes, something almost human in the way he stood. "You came." He didn't turn around. "I wasn't sure you would. You didn't give me much choice." Lena kept her distance, maintaining several feet between them. "You threatened to take my daughter." "Our daughter." Adrian finally looked at her. "And I didn't threaten. I stated facts. I have rights, Lena. Legal rights to a child I didn't know existed. Rights you'll use to destroy her life." "Is that what you think I want?" Adrian's voice was sharp. "To destroy my own daughter's life?" "I think you want control. You've always wanted control." "What I want," Adrian said slowly, "is the truth. 4 years of truth, starting with why you ran." Lena laughed bitterly. "You know why I ran. I heard you, Adrian, on the phone, talking about shipments and betrayals and people who needed to be handled. I finally admitted to myself what you were, and I couldn't stay." "You heard one conversation and made assumptions." "Were they wrong?" she challenged. "Were you not running a criminal empire? Were you not involved in violence and illegal activities?" Adrian was quiet for a long moment. "No," he finally said. "You weren't wrong. Not then." "Then what's changed?" "Everything." He turned to face her fully. "You left in the middle of the night 4 years ago. 3 days later, I realized you weren't coming back. Do you know what I did?" Lena shook her head, unable to speak. "I started dismantling it. Everything, every illegal operation, every questionable business, every connection to the world you were running from." His eyes held hers. "It took 2 years. 2 years of careful exits and strategic sales and making sure I didn't get killed in the process. But I did it, Lena. I walked away from everything." The words didn't make sense. "Why?" "Because you left." Adrian's voice was raw. "Because the woman He stopped, jaw clenching. "Because you looked at me like I was a monster, and I realized you weren't wrong. So I changed. I became someone different, someone better, someone who might deserve—" He broke off again. Lena's mind was reeling. "You expect me to believe you gave up your entire empire because I left?" "I expect you to believe the truth, which is that you disappearing made me look at my life and hate what I saw. Made me realize I'd rather have a chance at being someone you could love than keep building an empire you'd always fear." "But you didn't find me." "For 4 years, I looked." Adrian's expression darkened. "I looked for 2 years, Lena. Turned over every stone, chased every lead, and then I stopped." "Why?" "Because I realized you didn't want to be found, and maybe you were right to run. Maybe I was a monster, so I focused on becoming someone different, someone who could let you go." His voice dropped. "And then 3 months ago, one of my security people, someone I'd kept on retainer for legitimate protection work, recognized you in a coffee shop. Took a photo, sent it to me just in case I wanted to know you were safe." Lena remembered that day. She'd been getting Mia hot chocolate after a doctor's appointment, had felt watched but dismissed it as paranoia. "I could have come to you immediately," Adrian continued. "Could have shown up at your apartment, demanded explanations, used my resources to force a confrontation. But I didn't, because I wanted to give you the peace you'd been looking for. I wanted to make sure you were safe, that your life was stable, that you were happy. So you just watched me? I made sure you were protected." Adrian's voice was firm. "There are people from my old life who would love to hurt me through someone I cared about. So I kept security on you, discreetly. Made sure no one dangerous got close, made sure you and—" He stopped. "Made sure you both stayed safe." The implications crashed over Lena like a wave. "You've been protecting us?" "For 3 months. Before that, for 2 years after you left, I made sure every possible enemy knew that touching you would mean war. I might have left that world, but I made damn sure it left you alone. Lena sank onto a nearby bench, legs suddenly weak. I don't understand. If you've known where I was for 3 months, why show up now? Adrian's expression shifted, something painful and vulnerable crossing his features. Because yesterday morning, I was having coffee near your flower shop, routine security check, and I saw you walk past the window. He paused. With a little girl holding your hand, a little girl who looked exactly like me. The silence stretched between them, heavy with 4 years of secrets and lies and choices that couldn't be undone. I have a daughter, Adrian said quietly. A daughter I knew nothing about. A daughter whose entire life I've missed because you decided I didn't deserve to know she existed. I was protecting her. From what? Adrian's voice rose. From a father who would have loved her? From a man who gave up everything to become someone better? What exactly were you protecting her from, Lena? From your world. A world I left, Adrian shot back. A world I walked away from because I wanted to be better than what you saw that night. But you never gave me the chance to prove it. You just ran and decided who I was and who I'd always be, and you made that choice for all of us. Tears burned Lena's eyes. You're right. I'm a monster for keeping her from you. I'm terrible for protecting my daughter from... Our daughter, Adrian interrupted. Say it, Lena, our daughter, because that's what she is. And you don't get to erase me from her life just because you're afraid. I'm terrified. The words burst out before Lena could stop them. I'm terrified that you'll drag her into danger, that your past will catch up with you, and she'll be caught in the crossfire. That loving you will destroy her the way it almost destroyed me. Adrian went still. Loving me? Lena realized what she'd said, but it was too late to take it back. 4 years ago, when I left, I loved you so much it scared me. And that's why I ran. Because loving you meant accepting your world, and I couldn't do that. Not for myself, and definitely not for a child. You were pregnant when you left? She nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. And you never thought to tell me, to give me a choice, to let me decide if I wanted to change my life for my own child? I thought I was protecting her. You were protecting yourself. Adrian's voice was hard. From having to trust me. From having to believe I could be more than what you decided I was. You made yourself judge and jury, Lena. You decided I didn't deserve to know my daughter existed, and you've spent 4 years convincing yourself you were right. The accusation stung because it was true. Lena had been afraid, of Adrian, of his world, of her own feelings, and she'd let that fear make choices that weren't just hers to make. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Adrian was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was calmer, more controlled. I want to meet her, properly. Not in a cafe where you're terrified I'm going to hurt you both. I want to know my daughter, Lena, and I want her to know me. I don't know if I can do that. You don't have a choice. Adrian's expression hardened. I've been patient. I've been understanding. I've spent 3 months watching from a distance while you lived your life with my daughter, and I didn't interfere. But now that I know she exists, now that I've seen her face and realized what I've missed, I'm not walking away. I can't. What do you want from me? I want you to let me be her father. I want time with her, supervised if you need that. I want her to know who I am. He paused. And I want you to understand that I'm not the man you ran from. I'm not perfect, and there are things in my past I can't erase. But I've spent 4 years trying to become someone better, someone who might deserve a second chance. Lena looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something she'd been trying to deny. He wasn't the same man she'd fled. Something had changed in his eyes, in the way he carried himself. The ruthless edge was still there, but it was tempered now by something else, something that looked almost like hope. I need time, she said finally. Time to think. Time to figure out how to explain this to Mia. How long? I don't know. A few days? A week? Adrian shook his head. Tomorrow. Bring her to Lincoln Park, 2 o'clock. Just for an hour. Let me talk to her. Let her get to know me. That's all I'm asking. And if I say no, then I file for custody tomorrow morning and we let lawyers decide what's fair. Adrian's voice was unyielding. Your choice, Lena. Do this like adults who want what's best for their daughter, or do this through the courts where I promise you I have more resources than you can imagine. It wasn't really a choice. They both knew it. Lena could run again, could try to disappear, but Adrian had already proven he could find her, and this time he'd be looking with the determination of a father who knew his daughter existed. Tomorrow, she agreed. 2:00. Lincoln Park. But Adrian, if you do anything to scare her, if you say anything that makes her uncomfortable, I'm done. I'll fight you in court. I'll spend every dollar I have, but I won't let you hurt her. I would never hurt her. Adrian's voice was absolutely certain. She's my daughter, Lena. My daughter. Do you really think I'd do anything to harm her? Lena didn't answer, because the truth was, she didn't know anymore. She'd spent 4 years believing Adrian Moretti was a monster, but the man standing in front of her talking about second chances and becoming better wasn't the man she'd fled, and that terrified her more than anything. The night passed in fragments of sleep and worry. Lena lay awake until 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling and trying to figure out how to explain the unexplainable to a 3-year-old. How did you tell your daughter that the father she'd never known suddenly wanted to be part of her life? How did you introduce a man like Adrian Moretti without scaring her or making promises you weren't sure he could keep? By dawn, Lena still had no answers. She made breakfast mechanically, spreading peanut butter on toast, while Mia chattered about her friend Emma's new puppy. Normal morning sounds in a life that was anything but normal now. Mama, you're not listening. Mia's observation cut through Lena's thoughts. I'm sorry, sweet girl. Tell me again about the puppy. Mia launched into an elaborate description involving a lot of barking and something about chewed shoes, but Lena's mind kept circling back to Lincoln Park. 2:00. In less than 8 hours, she would watch Adrian Moretti meet his daughter for the first time, and nothing would ever be the same again. Her phone buzzed during Mia's story, a text from an unknown number, though Lena knew exactly who it was. I'll bring coffee, the good kind from that place on Wells Street. Still take it with cream, no sugar? The casual intimacy of the message, the fact that Adrian remembered how she took her coffee after 4 years, sent something complicated twisting through Lena's chest. She stared at the text for a long moment before typing back. Just be there. And Adrian, please don't make me regret this. His response came immediately. I won't. I promise. Lena wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe that the man who dismantled his criminal empire could be trusted with something as precious as Mia's heart. But trust wasn't something that came easily anymore. Not after 4 years of running and hiding and looking over her shoulder. The morning crawled by with agonizing slowness. Lena dropped Mia at daycare, worked a half shift at the flower shop, and picked her daughter up at noon. She'd told Margaret she needed the afternoon off for a doctor's appointment, another lie to add to the collection she'd been building for 4 years. Where are we going? Mia asked as Lena buckled her into the car seat. To the park, to meet someone. Who? Lena gripped the steering wheel, choosing her words carefully. Remember the man from the cafe yesterday? Adrian? Mia nodded, dark eyes curious. He's going to meet us at the park. He wants to talk to you. Why? Because he's your father, because I've been lying to you your whole life, because everything is about to change and I don't know how to stop it. Because he's a friend, Lena said instead, and he'd like to get to know you better. It was a coward's answer, but Lena couldn't bring herself to say more. Not yet. Not when she still didn't know what Adrian wanted or how this would unfold. Lincoln Park was busy despite the November cold. Families bundled in winter coats, joggers braving the wind, dogs pulling their owners toward the lake. Lena parked near the zoo and helped Mia out of the car, her heart hammering against her ribs. She saw Adrian before he saw them. He was standing near the pond, dressed more casually than yesterday. Dark jeans, a leather jacket, no tie. He looked younger somehow, less intimidating, but when he turned and spotted them, Lena saw the tension in his shoulders, the controlled energy that reminded her exactly who she was dealing with. Adrian approached slowly, as if afraid sudden movement might spook them. In his hands were 2 coffee cups and a small pink bakery box. Lena. His greeting was formal, careful. Then his gaze dropped to Mia, and something in his expression cracked open. Hello again, Mia. Hi. Mia pressed against Lena's leg, suddenly shy in a way she rarely was. Adrian crouched down, bringing himself to her eye level, just like he had in the cafe. I brought you something. Your mama told me you like hot chocolate, so I got you some. And cookies. Is that okay? Mia looked up at Lena, asking permission without words. Lena nodded, throat too tight to speak. Thank you. Mia accepted the hot chocolate with careful hands. Mama says you're her friend. I am. Adrian's voice was gentle. We've known each other for a long time. Do you have any kids? The question landed like a blow. Lena watched Adrian's face, saw him struggle with how to answer. Finally, he said, I do. I have a daughter. Really? What's her name? Mia. Adrian's smile was soft, devastating. Her name is Mia, and she's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. Lena's breath caught. Mia giggled, not understanding the weight of the words, just pleased by the compliment. That's my name too. That's funny. It is funny. Adrian stood slowly, his eyes finding Lena's over Mia's head. The look he gave her was complicated. Grateful, hurt, hopeful, angry, all at once. They walked together toward the playground, an awkward triangle of past and present and uncertain future. Mia ran ahead to the swings, leaving Lena and Adrian trailing behind. Thank you, Adrian said quietly, for bringing her. I know this isn't easy. You didn't give me much choice. I gave you the choice to do this peacefully instead of through lawyers. That's more than I had to do. Lena couldn't argue with that. She watched Mia climb onto a swing, calling for someone to push her. Adrian moved before Lena could, his long strides carrying him to their daughter's side. Can I push you? He asked. Mia nodded enthusiastically. Really high. I like going really high. Okay, but hold on tight, okay? I don't want you to fall. Adrian pushed the swing with careful strength, gauging Mia's reactions, adjusting his force to match her delighted squeals. Lena watched from a few feet away, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. He was good with her, natural in a way she hadn't expected, as if some instinct had kicked in the moment he'd laid eyes on his daughter. Higher, Mia shrieked, laughing. You sure? That's pretty high already. I'm brave. Mama says I'm the bravest girl she knows. Adrian glanced at Lena, and she saw something warm in his expression. Your mama's right. I can tell you're very brave. After the swings came the slide, then the climbing structure that made Lena nervous, but that Mia scaled with fearless determination. Adrian spotted her from below, ready to catch her if she fell, his entire focus on this small person who'd existed for 3 years without him. She's amazing, he said when Mia ran off to explore the sandbox. Smart, fearless, happy. She is. Lena's voice was defensive. I've made sure she's happy. I can see that. You've done an incredible job raising her, Lena. I mean that. The compliment caught her off guard. I thought you were angry with me. I am angry. Adrian's honesty was sharp. I'm furious that I've missed 3 years of her life, that her first words and first steps and first everything happened without me. But I'm also grateful that she's healthy and loved and clearly thriving. You did that. You gave her a good life. I gave her the best life I could without... Lena stopped. Without me, Adrian finished. You can say it. Without the monster you thought I was. I never thought you were a monster. Didn't you? Adrian turned to face her fully. You ran in the middle of the night, Lena. Changed your name. Spent 4 years hiding like I was some kind of threat. What else would you call that? I call it being careful. Protecting my daughter from what? Adrian's voice rose slightly before he caught himself, glancing at Mia to make sure she hadn't noticed. From a father who would have moved heaven and earth to keep her safe? From a man who gave up everything the moment he realized the woman he stopped abruptly. You keep saying you were protecting her, but maybe you need to admit you were just running from something you were afraid to face. And what's that? That you had feelings for me. Real feelings. The kind that terrified you because they meant you'd have to trust someone. So when you found an excuse, when you overheard that phone call and realized I wasn't perfect, You grabbed it and ran. Lena's hands clenched at her sides. That's not fair. You were a criminal, Adrian. You ran an empire built on illegal activities and violence. I didn't need an excuse to run from that. No. But you needed an excuse to run from us, from what we had. Because God forbid you actually let yourself love someone enough to stay and fight for them. I was pregnant and alone and terrified. You were pregnant and running from the only person who would have protected you with his life. Adrian's control was slipping, 4 years of frustration bleeding through. Do you know what I would have done if you'd told me? If you'd said, Adrian, I'm pregnant, but I can't raise a child in your world? I would have left it all immediately, not over 2 years, not gradually. I would have walked away that same night. I didn't know that. Because you didn't give me the chance to show you. Adrian's voice cracked. You made assumptions and decisions, and you robbed us both of the choice to build something different, something better. Mama, Mia's voice cut through the tension. Can Adrian help me build a sandcastle? Lena took a breath, forcing her expression into something resembling calm. If he wants to, sweet girl. Adrian was already moving toward the sandbox, his anger tucked away behind a smile for his daughter. Lena watched them work together, Mia directing, Adrian following her instructions with the kind of patience that seemed impossible for a man who'd once commanded an empire. He was good at this, natural, as if fatherhood was something he'd been born knowing how to do. You're doing it wrong, Mia informed him. The tower needs to be bigger. Bigger, got it. Adrian added more sand, sneaking glances at Mia's face as if memorizing every detail. How's this? Better. Now we need a flag for the top. A flag? Where are we going to get a flag? Mia looked around, then plucked a small twig from the ground and stuck a leaf on the end. There. Now it's perfect. Adrian studied the makeshift flag with exaggerated seriousness. You're absolutely right. Best castle I've ever seen. Have you seen lots of castles? A few. I've traveled to some places where they have real ones. Big stone castles with towers and everything. Mia's eyes went wide. Really? Like in my storybooks? Just like that. Maybe someday. Adrian stopped, seeming to catch himself. His eyes found Lena's, asking permission he didn't have the right to assume. Maybe someday what? Mia pressed. Maybe someday you'll get to see them too, Adrian finished carefully. If your mama says it's okay. Lena felt the weight of the moment, the future being negotiated in a sandbox conversation. She could shut this down, could remind Adrian that he didn't get to make plans for Mia's future, but looking at her daughter's excited face, at the hope in Adrian's expression, she couldn't bring herself to be that cruel. We'll see, she said instead. The non-answer of parents everywhere. They stayed at the park for another hour. Adrian pushed Mia on the swings again, helped her across the monkey bars, played a complicated game involving princesses and dragons that Mia invented on the spot. And through it all, Lena watched this man who'd once terrified her transform into someone gentle and careful and completely devoted to a little girl he'd known for less than 2 hours. It was almost 4 o'clock when Mia started yawning, the cold and excitement catching up with her. Adrian noticed immediately. Someone's getting tired, he observed gently. I'm not tired, Mia protested, then yawned again. Maybe we should head home, Lena suggested. It's almost dinner time. Mia's face fell. But I don't want to leave yet. Adrian's fun. Something bright and painful crossed Adrian's expression. I'm glad you think so. And maybe, if your mama says it's okay, maybe we can do this again soon. Really? Mia looked at Lena with pleading eyes. Can we, Mama? Please? Lena felt trapped between her daughter's hope and her own uncertainty. We'll talk about it. But when? Tomorrow? Can Adrian come tomorrow? Mia, how about this weekend? Adrian interrupted gently. Saturday. We could go to the zoo. Have you ever been to the Lincoln Park Zoo? Yes, I love the zoo, especially the penguins. Mia was bouncing now, exhaustion forgotten in her excitement. Then it's a date. Saturday. We'll see the penguins. Adrian looked at Lena, and she saw the silent plea in his eyes. If your mama agrees. Every instinct told Lena to say no, to slow this down, to maintain control, to protect the careful boundaries she'd built. But Mia was looking at her with such hope, and Adrian was trying so hard to do this right, and maybe, just maybe, she owed them both the chance to build something she'd stolen 4 years ago. Saturday, she agreed quietly. But I'm coming too. I wouldn't have it any other way. Adrian's smile was genuine. Thank you, Lena. They walked back to the car together, Mia chattering about all the animals she wanted to show Adrian at the zoo. When they reached Lena's old Honda, Adrian crouched down one more time to say goodbye. I had a really good time today, Mia. Thank you for playing with me. You're welcome. You're a good castle builder. High praise. Adrian's voice was thick with emotion. I'll see you Saturday, okay? Okay. Mia surprised everyone by throwing her arms around Adrian's neck in a spontaneous hug. Lena watched Adrian freeze, watched him slowly wrap his arms around his daughter, watched his eyes close as if he was trying to memorize the feeling. When Mia pulled back, there was moisture in Adrian's eyes that he blinked away quickly. Bye, Adrian. Mia climbed into her car seat, already distracted by a toy she'd left there earlier. Adrian stood slowly, his gaze finding Lena's. Thank you, he said again. For today, for bringing her, for giving me this chance. Don't make me regret it, Lena warned, but her voice lacked its earlier edge. I won't. I swear, Lena, I won't. She wanted to believe him. Standing in the parking lot with the November wind biting through her jacket, watching this man who'd once been her whole world look at her like she'd given him something precious, Lena wanted desperately to believe that this could work, that Adrian could be part of Mia's life without destroying everything Lena had built. But as she drove away, watching Adrian's figure grow smaller in her rear-view mirror, doubt crept back in. Because men like Adrian Moretti didn't change, not really. And no matter how gentle he'd been today, no matter how good he was with Mia, his past was still there. Still dangerous, still capable of destroying everything if it caught up with them. Her phone buzzed at a red light. Another text from Adrian. She's incredible. Thank you for raising her so well. And Lena, I meant what I said. I'm not the man you ran from. Let me prove it. Lena didn't respond. She drove home in silence, Mia falling asleep in the back seat, and tried to ignore the voice in her head that whispered she'd just made a terrible mistake. That night, after Mia was asleep, Lena sat at her kitchen table and did something she hadn't done in 4 years. She Googled Adrian Moretti. The results were surprising. Articles about legitimate business ventures. A real estate development company. Investments in tech startups. Charitable foundations. Nothing about criminal enterprises or mafia connections. It was as if the man she'd known had been completely erased, replaced by this respectable businessman who donated to children's hospitals and sat on nonprofit boards. She dug deeper, searching for anything that connected him to his old life. But everywhere she looked, the story was the same. Adrian Moretti had walked away from his family's criminal empire 5 years ago, right around when Lena had met him. He'd spent the next 2 years systematically divesting from illegal operations, selling off assets, and building something legitimate. The timeline matched what he'd told her. He'd started changing before she left, and he'd finished the transformation after, as if her disappearance had been the final push he needed to completely remake himself. Lena closed her laptop, more confused than before. If Adrian was telling the truth, if he really had left that world behind, then what was she protecting Mia from? A father who wanted to know his daughter? A man who'd proven he could change? Or was she just protecting herself from having to admit she'd been wrong? That she'd run from something real because she was too afraid to trust it? Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Adrian, this one longer. I know you're scared, I know you don't trust me, but I'm not asking you to trust me with your life or your heart. I'm just asking you to trust me with her. Let me be her father. Let me prove I can be the man she deserves. That's all I want, Lena. Just a chance. Lena stared at the message for a long time before typing back. Saturday, 10 o'clock. The zoo. Don't be late. I'll be there at 9:45. Thank you. She set the phone down and sat in the darkness of her kitchen, listening to the radiator's clank and the distant sounds of the city. Somewhere out there, Adrian Moretti was probably sitting in some expensive apartment, thinking about the daughter he'd just met, planning what to say on Saturday, trying to figure out how to be a father to a little girl who didn't know he existed until 2 days ago. And Lena was here, in her small apartment with her sleeping daughter, trying to figure out how she'd gone from running away from Adrian to making plans to see him again in less than 48 hours. The knock on her door at 10 p.m. made her jump. Lena approached cautiously, checking the peephole before freezing. Adrian stood in her hallway, still in the same clothes from the park, looking exhausted and determined and slightly desperate. "What are you doing here?" Lena demanded through the door. "I need to show you something. Please. Just 5 minutes." Against her better judgment, Lena opened the door but didn't invite him in. "It's late. Mia's sleeping." "I know, I'm sorry, but this couldn't wait." Adrian pulled out his phone, scrolling through something before holding it out to her. "I need you to see this." Lena took the phone reluctantly. On the screen was a surveillance photo of a man she didn't recognize, dark-haired and dangerous-looking, watching her flower shop from across the street. "Who is that?" "Marco Vitelli. He works for the Giordano family, my old rivals." Adrian's voice was tense. "He's been watching you for 3 days." Ice flooded through Lena's veins. "What?" "I told you I had security on you. They spotted him Tuesday morning. He's been doing surveillance, watching your apartment, following you to work, tracking your routines." "Why?" But Lena already knew the answer. "Because someone found out about Mia." Adrian's expression was grim. "And they're trying to figure out how to use her against me." The world tilted. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. This is why I ran, Adrian. Your world is coming for her whether I'm in her life or not," Adrian interrupted. "Don't you see? They know she exists now. They've done the math, figured out the timing, realized she's mine. Running won't protect her anymore, Lena. The only thing that protects her now is me. No, we can leave tonight. I have money saved. I have plans. And they'll find you." Adrian's voice was hard. "Just like I found you, except, unlike me, they won't care about keeping her safe. They'll use her to get to me, and they won't hesitate to hurt her to do it." Lena's legs felt weak. She leaned against the doorframe, trying to process what he was telling her. "What do we do?" "You let me protect you, both of you. You move into my place where I have actual security, where I can keep you safe until I deal with this threat." "Move in with you? Are you insane?" "I'm realistic." Adrian stepped closer, and Lena saw the fear beneath his controlled exterior. "Lena, these people don't play games. If they decide Mia is a useful tool, they will take her, and you won't be able to stop them." "And you can?" "I've been protecting you for 3 months without you even knowing it. Yes, I can protect you, but not when you're living in a ground-floor apartment with windows that could be breached in 30 seconds. Lena thought of those same windows, the ones she'd worried about yesterday. "How do I know this isn't just a manipulation, a way to force us into your life?" Adrian's laugh was bitter. "You think I'd invent a threat to my own daughter? Show up at your door at 10 p.m. because I'm desperate to manipulate you?" He ran a hand through his hair, frustration bleeding through his control. "Believe whatever you want about me, Lena, but at least believe that I would never put Mia in danger just to get what I want." "Then what do you suggest? We just upend our entire lives, move into your place, and pretend everything's fine?" "I suggest you let me keep you both alive while I eliminate the threat." Adrian's voice dropped. "I still have connections, Lena. Resources. Ways to make sure the Giordanos understand that touching my daughter means war. But I need time, and I need you somewhere safe while I work." "For how long?" "A few weeks, maybe a month." "A month?" Lena's voice rose before she remembered Mia sleeping down the hall. "You want us to move in with you for a month?" "I want you to survive." Adrian's expression was fierce. "I want my daughter to grow up. I want you both safe. That's all I want, Lena. Everything else, me being her father, us figuring out how to co-parent, any of it, none of that matters if she's not alive to see her 4th birthday." The words hit like a physical blow. Lena felt tears burning her eyes, felt the carefully constructed world she'd built crumbling around her. She'd thought she was keeping Mia safe, thought running and hiding and staying invisible was enough. But she'd been wrong, so terribly, dangerously wrong. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Adrian's entire body sagged with relief. "Thank you. I'll have my people here first thing tomorrow to help you pack. You don't need to bring much. I have everything you'll need. Just personal items, Mia's favorite toys, whatever makes her comfortable. How do I explain this to her? She's 3, Adrian. How do I tell her we're moving in with a man she just met because bad people are after us? You don't. Adrian's voice was gentle now. You tell her we're having an adventure, that we're staying at my place for a little while so we can see each other more. Kids are resilient, Lena. She'll adapt faster than you think. Lena wanted to argue, wanted to find some other solution that didn't involve putting herself and her daughter completely in Adrian's hands. But she was out of options, out of cities to run to, out of ways to pretend the past wouldn't eventually catch up. Tomorrow morning, she said finally. But Adrian, if anything happens to her, if your world touches one hair on her head, it won't. Adrian's certainty was absolute. I swear on everything I am, Lena. I will keep her safe, both of you, no matter what it costs. He left then, disappearing into the hallway and leaving Lena standing in her doorway, shaking with fear and adrenaline and the horrible realization that everything had just changed again. She checked on Mia, watching her daughter sleep peacefully, completely unaware that her entire world was about to shift. Tomorrow they would pack. Tomorrow they would leave this apartment, this life, this illusion of safety. Tomorrow they would step fully into Adrian Moretti's world, and Lena had no idea if she'd just made the best decision of her life or the worst mistake she could possibly make. But as she climbed into her own bed and stared at the ceiling until dawn, one thought kept circling through her mind. At least this time, she wasn't running alone. Morning came too fast and brought with it a parade of efficient strangers who moved through Lena's apartment like a well-trained army. Adrian's people, he'd called them. 3 men and 1 woman, all professionally courteous, all clearly accustomed to following orders without question. They packed boxes with military precision while Lena tried to explain to a confused and excited Mia that they were going on an adventure. "But why are we packing all my toys?" Mia asked, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. "Are we moving?" "Just for a little while, sweet girl. We're going to stay with Adrian. Won't that be fun?" Mia's face lit up. "Really? At his house? Does he have a big house?" "I don't know, baby. We'll find out together." What Lena didn't say was that she was terrified, that every instinct screamed this was wrong, that moving into Adrian's home meant surrendering the last shred of independence she had. But the alternative, staying here with men like Marco Vitelli watching from across the street, was worse. Adrian arrived at 9, looking impossibly put together in dark slacks and a crisp white shirt. He went straight to Mia, crouching down with that now familiar gentleness. "Good morning, Mia. Are you ready for our adventure?" "Yes, Mama says we're staying at your house." "That's right, and I promise you're going to love it. I have a guest room that I think is perfect for a brave girl like you." He glanced at Lena. "How's it going?" "Fine." The word came out clipped. "Your people are very efficient." "They're good at what they do." Adrian stood, moving closer but maintaining careful distance. "The car's downstairs whenever you're ready. I thought we could stop for breakfast on the way. There's a place Mia might like." "We need to talk." Lena kept her voice low. "About rules, boundaries, how this is going to work." "Agreed. After we get you settled." Adrian's expression was understanding. "One thing at a time, Lena. Let's just get you somewhere safe first." The somewhere safe turned out to be a penthouse in the Gold Coast that made Lena's modest apartment look like a closet. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan, gleaming hardwood floors, furniture that probably cost more than she made in a year. It was beautiful and intimidating, and everything Lena had feared about Adrian's world. "This is where you live?" she asked, hating how small her voice sounded. "This is home." Adrian set down the bag he'd been carrying. "Your room is this way. And Mia, I have a surprise for you." He led them down a hallway to a bedroom that had clearly been prepared with a 3-year-old in mind. The walls were painted a soft lavender, and there was a white canopy bed that looked like something from a fairy tale. Shelves lined one wall, already stocked with books and toys. A rocking chair sat in the corner, and Lena felt something crack in her chest when she realized it was identical to the one in Mia's room at the apartment, the one she rocked her daughter in every night. "You did this overnight?" Lena's voice was barely a whisper. "I had help." Adrian was watching Mia explore the room with wonder. "I wanted her to feel comfortable, safe. Like this could be her space." It's perfect, Mia breathed, running her hands over the canopy. Mama, look. It's like a princess room. I see that, sweet girl. Can I stay here, please? Can this be my room? Lena looked at Adrian, saw the hope and uncertainty in his expression, and felt the ground shift beneath her feet again. This wasn't just a guest room. This was a declaration, a claim. This was Adrian Moretti showing them exactly how far he was willing to go to be part of Mia's life. For now, Lena agreed carefully, for as long as we're staying here. Adrian's shoulders relaxed slightly. Your room is next door. Come on, I'll show you. If Mia's room was a fairy tale, Lena's was elegant sophistication. A king-size bed with crisp white linens, a sitting area by the windows, an ensuite bathroom with a soaking tub that made her want to cry. It was luxury beyond anything she'd ever experienced, and it made her feel desperately out of place. It's too much, she said. It's safe. Adrian's voice was firm. That's all that matters right now. Is it? Because this feels like something else. Like you're trying to… She stopped, aware of Mia playing in the next room. Trying to what? Take care of you? Provide for my daughter? Adrian's jaw tightened. I'm sorry if making sure you're both comfortable offends you, Lena, but I'm not going to apologize for having resources. I didn't ask for any of this. No, you just asked me to keep you safe. This is how I do that. He moved toward the door. There's a security system throughout the apartment, cameras on every entrance, panic buttons in each room. My head of security, James, will brief you this afternoon. Until I've dealt with the Giordano situation, I need you to stay here. No going to work, no unnecessary trips outside. You're saying we're prisoners? Adrian turned back and Lena saw frustration flash across his face. I'm saying you're protected. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like I've traded one kind of running for another kind of cage. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you spent 4 years making choices that led us here. Adrian's control was slipping. 4 years of patience wearing thin. I'm trying to keep you alive, Lena. Both of you. I'm sorry if my methods aren't what you'd prefer, but they're what we have. So either trust me to do this right, or spend the next few weeks second-guessing every decision I make. Your choice. He left before she could respond, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. Lena sank onto the edge of the bed, hands shaking with anger and fear and exhaustion. This was supposed to be protection, but it felt like losing herself all over again, like becoming absorbed into Adrian's world whether she wanted to or not. Mama? Mia appeared in the doorway, rabbit clutched to her chest. Are you sad? Lena forced a smile. No, sweet girl, just tired. Come here. Mia climbed onto the bed, snuggling against Lena's side. I like it here. Adrian's house is nice. It is nice. Is he going to be my friend forever? The question pierced through Lena's defenses. She wrapped her arms around her daughter, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. Would you like that? For Adrian to be your friend? Yes. He's fun, and he looks at me like I'm special. Lena closed her eyes against the sting of tears. You are special, Mia. So special. I know. But Adrian looks at me like he thinks I'm special too, like how you do. The observation was too astute for a 3-year-old, and it made Lena's heart ache. Because Mia was right. Adrian looked at his daughter like she hung the moon, like everything he'd done wrong in his life had been redeemed the moment he met her, and Lena couldn't decide if that was beautiful or terrifying. Lunch was an awkward affair around Adrian's massive dining table. He'd ordered in from some Italian place that delivered portions large enough to feed an army. Mia was delighted, chattering about her new room and asking Adrian 1,000 questions about his apartment, his car, his favorite color. He answered each one with patience, sneaking glances at Lena like he was trying to gauge whether she was still furious with him. She was. But she was also practical enough to know that fighting wouldn't help anything. So she ate her pasta and watched Adrian cut Mia's chicken into small pieces and felt her carefully constructed walls continue to crack. After lunch, James arrived for the security briefing. He was ex-military, that much was obvious from his bearing and the way he cataloged every entrance and exit with professional precision. He explained the panic buttons, the cameras, the protocols if something went wrong. Lena listened with growing dread, realizing exactly how serious the threat must be if Adrian had implemented this level of protection. Questions? James asked when he'd finished. How long? Lena's voice was tight. How long until we can go back to normal? James looked at Adrian, who answered. Depends on how quickly I can resolve the situation with the Giordanos. Could be a week, could be a month. And what does resolve mean exactly? It means I make them understand that touching you or Mia would be the last mistake they ever make. Adrian's voice was hard, and Lena caught a glimpse of the man he used to be, the one who'd commanded an empire through fear and force. I thought you left that world. I did, but I still speak the language. He met her gaze steadily. And I'll use whatever tools I have to keep you both safe, even if that means reminding old enemies why they used to fear me. James excused himself, leaving Lena and Adrian alone while Mia napped in her new room. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything they weren't saying. I hate this, Lena finally admitted. I hate feeling trapped. I hate that my daughter is in danger because of choices I made 4 years ago. Choices we both made. Adrian's correction was gentle. This isn't your fault, Lena. The Giordanos are reacting to me, not you. They see Mia as leverage, and they're going to try to use her. That's on me and my past, not on you running. But if I'd told you about her from the beginning, then what? We'd have dealt with this 4 years ago instead of now? Maybe. Or maybe things would have played out exactly the same way. Adrian moved closer, careful not to crowd her. Second guessing doesn't help. We are where we are. All we can do is move forward. Forward to what? You keep saying you'll resolve this, but what does that mean for us after? Do you expect us to stay here, to just fold into your life like the past 4 years didn't happen? I expect us to figure it out as we go. Adrian's voice was measured. Right now, I'm focused on keeping you alive. After that, we'll talk about what comes next, about custody arrangements and visitation and all the legal things we need to establish. But one crisis at a time, okay? Lena wanted to argue, wanted to demand answers and guarantees and a clear path forward, but she was exhausted, emotionally wrung out, and arguing with Adrian took energy she didn't have. I'm going to check on Mia, she said instead. Lena. Adrian's voice stopped her at the doorway. I know you don't trust me. I know you think this is some kind of manipulation, but I need you to understand something. That little girl sleeping in the next room is the most important thing in my world right now. More important than business, more important than my past, more important than anything. I would die before I let someone hurt her. Do you believe that? Lena turned to look at him, really look at him, and saw absolute conviction in his expression. I want to. Then try. That's all I'm asking. Just try to believe that I'm doing this for the right reasons. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak, and escaped to Mia's room. Her daughter was sprawled across the canopy bed, rabbit tucked under her arm, sleeping the peaceful sleep of children who didn't understand danger. Lena sat in the rocking chair and watched her, trying to reconcile the life she'd built with the one that was unfolding around her. The days blurred together into a strange routine. Mornings with Mia exploring the apartment, afternoons watching movies or playing games, evenings when Adrian would come home from whatever mysterious business kept him away and transform into a devoted father. He read Mia bedtime stories with theatrical voices that made her giggle. He played endless games of princess and dragon. He answered her constant questions with patience that seemed infinite, and Lana watched it all with a mixture of wonder and resentment. Wonder because Adrian was genuinely good with Mia, creating a bond that grew stronger every day. Resentment because it was working. Mia was falling in love with her father, and there was nothing Lena could do to protect her from the inevitable heartbreak if this all fell apart. On the fourth night, Lena woke to sounds from the living room. She found Adrian on the couch, laptop open, papers spread across the coffee table. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there that morning. Can't sleep? She asked. Adrian looked up, surprised. Did I wake you? I'm sorry. I was trying to be quiet. You didn't wake me. Lena moved into the room, drawn by something she couldn't name. What are you working on? Solving our problem. Adrian gestured to the papers, financial documents, surveillance photos, what looked like organizational charts. The Giordanos have been quiet for the past few days. Too quiet. I don't like it. Lena sat in the chair across from him, pulling her knees to her chest. Tell me the truth. How bad is this? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Bad enough that I'm not sleeping. Bad enough that I've called in every favor I have. Bad enough that I'm seriously considering options I swore I'd never use again. What kind of options? The kind that remind people why they used to fear the Moretti name. Adrian's voice was grim. I've spent 4 years building something legitimate, Lena. Something clean. But my daughter is in danger and I'm running out of civilized solutions. What does that mean? It means if they push me, I'll push back harder. And I don't care what it costs me. He looked at her, and Lena saw something fierce and slightly desperate in his expression. I told you I'd changed, and I have, but I'm still capable of protecting what's mine, even if that means getting my hands dirty again. She's not yours. The words came out sharper than Lena intended. She's not a possession you get to claim. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? You keep talking about protecting what's yours, about making people understand she's off limits, but you've known her for less than a week, Adrian. You don't get to claim ownership just because you share DNA. Adrian's jaw tightened. Is that what you think this is? Some power play? Some need to possess? I don't know what this is. I don't know if you genuinely care about her or if she's just another piece on whatever chessboard you're playing. She's my daughter! Adrian's voice rose before he caught himself, glancing toward the hallway where Mia slept. When he spoke again, it was quieter but no less intense. She's my daughter, Lena, my child. The only good thing I've ever created. And yes, I'm protective of her. Yes, I'll do whatever it takes to keep her safe. But that's not about possession. That's about being a father. You've been a father for 4 days. And every single one of those days has mattered more than the last 4 years combined. Adrian stood, pacing to the windows that overlooked the city. You think I don't know how new this is? You think I don't feel like I'm fumbling through every interaction, terrified I'm going to say the wrong thing, or push too hard, or somehow damage this miracle I've been given? He turned back to her. I know I have no right to her. I know I've missed too much. But I'm here now, Lena. I'm trying. And I need you to give me credit for that instead of questioning my motives every time I try to protect her. Lena felt something shift in her chest. I'm scared. Of what? Of this. Of you. Of what happens when the danger passes and we have to figure out real life. She wrapped her arms around herself. Of Mia loving you and then losing you. Of her getting hurt because I let you in. Adrian crossed the room, kneeling in front of her chair. Look at me. Lena did, meeting his dark eyes in the dim light. I am not going anywhere, Adrian said firmly. Not when this crisis is over. Not ever. I am going to be in Mia's life for the rest of mine. And nothing, not your fear, not my past, not anything, is going to change that. So you can keep fighting me, keep second-guessing everything I do, or you can accept that I'm here to stay, and we need to figure out how to make this work. How do I know you mean it? How do I know you won't get bored or decide being a father is too hard, or because I love her? The words were simple, absolute. I've loved her from the moment I saw her face in that cafe, and I will love her every day for the rest of my life. That's not negotiable, Lena. That's just truth. Tears spilled down Lena's cheeks before she could stop them. She deserves better than this, than danger and threats and having to hide. She deserves a father who will move heaven and earth to keep her safe. And that's what I'm giving her. Adrian reached up, gently wiping away her tears. Let me do this, Lena. Let me be what she needs. What you both need. I don't need you. Don't you? His voice was soft. Because from where I'm sitting, you've been carrying this alone for 4 years. Raising a child, working, hiding, constantly looking over your shoulder. You're exhausted, Lena. So let me help. Let me carry some of this weight. The offer was tempting. Terrifyingly tempting. Because Adrian was right. She was tired. Tired of being strong, tired of being alone, tired of pretending she had everything under control when she was barely holding it together. What happens when this is over? She asked quietly. When the Giordanos aren't a threat anymore. What then? Then we figure out how to be parents together, how to give Mia the stability she deserves while respecting what we both need. Adrian's hand was still on her face, thumb brushing away tears. I'm not trying to take her from you, Lena. I'm trying to be part of her life, part of both your lives, if you'll let me. I don't know if I can do that. Then start small. Start with trusting me to keep you safe. We'll worry about everything else later. Before Lena could respond, a sound came from the hallway. They both turned to see Mia standing there, rabbit clutched to her chest, looking small and uncertain in her princess nightgown. Mama, why are you crying? Lena pulled away from Adrian, wiping her face as she stood. I'm okay, sweet girl. Just talking to Adrian. What are you doing up? I heard voices. Are you fighting? No, baby, we're not fighting. Mia looked between them with those two knowing eyes. You sound like you're fighting. Adrian moved toward Mia, crouching to her level. Your mama and I were just having a grown-up conversation. Sometimes grown-ups talk about serious things, and it can sound like fighting even when it's not. But I promise, everything's okay. Are you sure? Positive. Adrian held out his hand. Come on, let's get you back to bed. It's late. Mia took his hand without hesitation, and Lena watched them walk down the hallway together, her daughter and the man who'd been a stranger less than a week ago, already moving like they'd known each other forever. She followed them to Mia's room, standing in the doorway as Adrian tucked their daughter back into bed, with a gentleness that made Lena's throat tight. Will you stay until I fall asleep? Mia asked. Of course. Adrian settled into the rocking chair, the one that was identical to Lena's. Close your eyes. I'll be right here. Lena watched as Mia's breathing slowly evened out, as Adrian sat perfectly still in the darkness, keeping watch over his daughter like a guardian. And something in Lena's chest finally cracked open completely, letting in a truth she'd been fighting since that morning in the cafe. Adrian Moretti might be dangerous. He might have a past that still cast shadows, but he loved their daughter with a fierceness that matched her own. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to build something on. When Mia was fully asleep, Adrian stood carefully and joined Lena in the hallway. They walked back to the living room in silence, both lost in their own thoughts. Thank you, Lena said quietly, for being good with her. Being good with her is the easiest thing I've ever done. Adrian's smile was soft. She's incredible, Lena, and that's because of you, because of everything you've given her these past 4 years. The compliment landed differently than it had before, less like a manipulation, more like genuine gratitude. I should try to sleep, Lena said. Tomorrow's going to be another long day. Lena, Adrian's voice stopped her. What I said before, about being here to stay. I meant it. I know you need time to believe that, and I'll give you that time. But I'm not going anywhere. Not ever. Lena nodded, not trusting herself to speak, and retreated to her room. She lay in the expensive bed in the dark apartment and tried to reconcile who Adrian was with, who she'd thought he was. Tried to figure out if she was making the biggest mistake of her life or finally doing something right. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, a text from an unknown number, but Lena's blood ran cold as she read it. Pretty little girl. It would be a shame if something happened to her. Attached was a photo. Mia at the park just 3 days ago, before they'd moved to Adrian's apartment. Someone had been watching, waiting, planning. Lena was in Adrian's office before she consciously decided to move, phone thrust toward him with shaking hands. They found us. Adrian took the phone, his expression darkening as he read the message. Then he made a call, his voice sharp and commanding. James, lock down the building. Full security protocols now. He hung up and looked at Lena. It's going to be okay. They threatened her, Adrian. They sent me a picture of our daughter and threatened her. I know, and they're going to regret it. Adrian's voice was cold, controlled fury. This ends tomorrow, whatever it takes. What are you going to do? What I should have done from the beginning. Remind the Giordanos exactly who they're dealing with. He pulled Lena close, and she let him, too scared and exhausted to resist. I promise you, Lena, by this time tomorrow, they will never threaten our daughter again. Lena wanted to ask what that meant, wanted to know what Adrian was planning. But part of her didn't want to know. Part of her just wanted to believe that the man holding her could actually keep them safe. Don't let her out of your sight tomorrow, Adrian said quietly. Stay in the apartment. James will be here, plus additional security, and I'll be back as soon as I can. Where are you going? To end this. Adrian pulled back, cupping her face in his hands. Trust me, please, just this once. Trust that I can protect you both. Lena looked into his eyes and made a choice. Okay, but Adrian, come back. Whatever you're going to do, whatever it costs, come back to her. She needs you now. Something shifted in Adrian's expression. I will, I swear. He kissed her forehead, a gesture so tender it made Lena's eyes burn, and then he was gone. Lena stood in the office, listening to his footsteps fade, and prayed she hadn't just made a terrible mistake. The hours after Adrian left stretched into an eternity. Lena tried to sleep but kept jolting awake at every sound, her mind conjuring threats in every creak of the building, every distant siren. By dawn, she gave up entirely and went to check on Mia for the 5th time. Her daughter slept peacefully, completely unaware that somewhere in the city, her father was dealing with men who'd threatened her life. James appeared at 7 with coffee and a carefully neutral expression. Mr. Moretti asked me to check in. Everything okay here? Define okay. Lena wrapped her hands around the coffee mug, grateful for the warmth. Have you heard from him? Not yet, but that's normal for this kind of situation. What kind of situation is that exactly? James hesitated, clearly weighing how much to say. The kind where he's reminding people why they used to fear him, the kind that requires complete focus and no distractions. So he could be in danger. Mr. Moretti knows how to handle himself. He didn't survive in that world as long as he did by being careless. James's voice was reassuring, but honest. But yes, there's always risk when you're dealing with people like the Giordanos. Lena felt her stomach twist. And if something happens to him, if they won't. James's certainty was absolute. I've worked for Mr. Moretti for 6 years. I've seen him navigate situations that would have destroyed other men. He'll handle this, and he'll come home. You have my word. It was a promise James had no right to make, but Lena clung to it anyway. She needed to believe Adrian would come back, needed to believe he could actually end this threat without getting himself killed in the process. Mia woke at 8, cheerful and oblivious, asking where Adrian was and when he'd be home. He had to work today, Lena explained, forcing brightness into her voice. But he'll be back soon. Can we make him cookies for when he comes home? The request was so innocent, so normal, that Lena felt tears prick her eyes. That's a wonderful idea, sweet girl. Let's make cookies. They spent the morning in Adrian's pristine kitchen, getting flour everywhere and arguing about whether chocolate chips or M&Ms made better cookies. Mia was convinced M&Ms were superior, and Lena didn't have the heart to disagree. James hovered nearby, professional but present, and Lena was grateful for another adult presence, even if he couldn't tell her what she desperately needed to know. By noon, Lena was crawling out of her skin with worry. She kept checking her phone, kept waiting for some word from Adrian, but there was nothing, just silence that grew heavier with each passing hour. Mama, you're doing it again. Mia looked up from the puzzle they were working on. Being worried. I'm not worried, baby. Yes, you are. You get a line right here. Mia touched the space between Lena's eyebrows. When you're worried. Lena pulled her daughter close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo mixed with cookie dough. I'm okay, I promise. Is Adrian okay too? The question pierced through Lena's carefully maintained composure. Yes, he's fine. He's just very busy today. But he's coming back, right? He promised he'd read me the next chapter of my book tonight. He'll be back. Lena said it with more confidence than she felt. Adrian always keeps his promises. It was almost 2 in the afternoon when her phone finally rang. Adrian's name on the screen made her heart leap. Hello? It's done. Adrian's voice was rough, exhausted. The Giordanos won't be a problem anymore. Relief flooded through Lena so powerfully she had to sit down. What happened? Are you okay? I'm fine. Tired, but fine. I'll explain everything when I get home. Is Mia... She's perfect. We made you cookies. Adrian's laugh was surprised, warm. You made me cookies? Mia's idea? She wanted to do something nice for you. Silence stretched between them, heavy with things neither could say with James and Mia nearby. I'll be there in an hour, Adrian finally said. And Lena, thank you for trusting me to handle this. He hung up before she could respond. Lena sat on the couch, phone clutched in her hand, and tried to process the tangle of emotions in her chest. Relief that he was safe, gratitude that the threat was over, and something else, something complicated and terrifying that she wasn't ready to examine too closely. Was that Adrian? Mia bounced over, eyes bright with hope. It was. He's coming home soon. Good. The cookies are waiting for him. Adrian arrived 90 minutes later looking like he'd been through a war. His suit was rumpled, there was a bruise forming along his jaw, and exhaustion lined every feature. But when Mia ran to him, squealing about cookies and puzzles and everything she'd done that day, he smiled like she'd given him the world. Cookies? For me? He let Mia pull him toward the kitchen. That's the nicest thing anyone's done for me in a long time. They have M&M's. Mama wanted chocolate chips, but I said M&M's are better. M&M's are definitely better. Adrian caught Lena's gaze over Mia's head, and she saw gratitude and relief and something deeper in his expression. Your mama did a good job helping you make these. They sat at the kitchen island together, Mia chattering while Adrian ate cookies and asked questions about her day. He looked exhausted but focused entirely on their daughter, as if nothing else in the world mattered. Lena watched from across the room, trying to reconcile this gentle father with whatever he'd done that morning to make the Giordano threat disappear. After Mia's bedtime, complete with the promised story chapter and 3 extra hugs, Adrian found Lena on the couch where she'd been pretending to read. She's asleep. He sank into the chair across from her, rolling his shoulders like they ached. Wants to make pancakes tomorrow. Apparently that's her new thing. She goes through phases. Lena set her book aside. Tell me what happened. All of it. Adrian was quiet for a moment, seeming to gather his thoughts. I met with Marco Giordano, the head of the family, made it clear that touching you or Mia would mean consequences he couldn't afford. That's it? You just talked to him? I showed him proof that I still have connections, resources, people who owe me favors from the old days. I reminded him that while I've left that world, I'm not powerless. Adrian's voice was steady. And I made him understand that starting a war over some perceived slight wasn't worth what it would cost him. What kind of proof? The kind that involves financial records and documented relationships and evidence that could destroy his legitimate businesses if it reached the right people. Adrian met her gaze. I didn't threaten violence, Lena. I threatened exposure, the kind that would bring federal attention he can't afford. So you blackmailed him. I gave him a choice. Leave us alone, or face consequences that would hurt him more than anything I could do with muscle. Adrian leaned forward. I told you I'd changed. I meant it. The man I was 4 years ago would have solved this with blood. But I found a better way. A way that protects Mia without adding more violence to a world that's already seen too much. Lena absorbed this, trying to decide if she believed him. And he agreed? Just like that? Not immediately. We negotiated. I agreed to destroy certain information I have about his operations. He agreed to issue a family-wide order that you and Mia are completely off limits. We signed a formal agreement, witnessed by neutral parties who have no interest in seeing either of us break our word. A formal agreement? Like a contract? Exactly like a contract. It's how these things work now. Less blood, more lawyers, but binding all the same. Adrian's smile was tired. Welcome to the modern underworld. We settle disputes with paperwork. Despite everything, Lena felt a laugh bubble up. That's insane. That's progress. Adrian stood, crossing to the windows. The threat is over, Lena. Really over. You and Mia can go back to your lives, back to normal. The words should have brought relief, but instead Lena felt something twist in her chest. Just like that? We pack up and leave? Adrian turned to look at her, and Lena saw something vulnerable in his expression. That's what you want, isn't it? To get back to the life you had before I showed up and complicated everything? I don't know what I want. The admission came out raw, honest. A week ago, I would have said yes, absolutely. But now what? Now Mia knows you. She loves you. Walking away would hurt her. Lena stood, moving closer. And maybe it would hurt me too. Adrian's breath caught. Lena, I'm not saying I forgive you for threatening custody. I'm not saying I'm ready to trust you completely, but I'm saying maybe we don't have to go back to how things were. Maybe we can figure out something new. What does that look like? I don't know yet. Maybe we start with you being part of Mia's life. Real, consistent visits. Scheduled time where she can get to know her father without the threat of danger hanging over us. And what about you? Adrian's voice was quiet. Where do you fit in this arrangement? Lena's heart hammered. I don't know. I spent 4 years convincing myself you were a monster. Turns out I was wrong about a lot of things. Not wrong, just not completely right. Adrian closed the distance between them. I was dangerous, Lena. I did things I'm not proud of. But I'm not that person anymore. And I need you to believe that, because I can't do this, can't be Mia's father, can't be in your life, if you're always waiting for me to become the monster again. Then prove it. The challenge came out sharper than Lena intended. Keep being this person. Keep choosing the better way. Keep showing me that the man I'm seeing is real and not some act you're putting on until you get what you want. What I want is my daughter in my life. What I want is a chance to be the father she deserves. Adrian's hand came up to cup her face, gentle, despite the bruises on his knuckles. And what I want is for you to look at me without fear, without waiting for me to hurt you. I'm trying. Lena's voice broke. I'm trying so hard to believe you've changed, but Adrian, you have to understand. Trusting you means risking everything. My safety, Mia's safety, our entire lives. That's not something I can do lightly. I know, and I'm not asking you to trust me completely, not yet. Adrian's thumb brushed her cheekbone. I'm asking for time, for chances to prove myself, for the opportunity to show you that the man standing here isn't the man you ran from. Before Lena could respond, a crash from the hallway made them both spin. Mia's scream followed, high and terrified, and Lena's heart stopped. They ran together, reaching Mia's room in seconds. The window was shattered, cold November air pouring in, and a man in dark clothes was climbing through. James appeared from somewhere, weapon drawn, but the intruder was faster. He grabbed Mia from her bed, holding her small body against his chest like a shield. Don't move! The man's voice was rough, desperate. I just want to talk to Moretti. Adrian froze, hands raised. Let her go. Whatever this is about, we can discuss it, but let my daughter go first. Your daughter? The man laughed bitterly. That's rich. You get to have a daughter while mine is dead because of you? Lena's blood ran cold. This wasn't about the Giordanos. This was something else entirely. Someone from Adrian's past seeking revenge. Who are you? Adrian's voice was calm despite the gun pointed at Mia's head. Tell me who you are, and we'll talk. Vincent Rossi. Remember that name? You should. You killed my daughter 3 years ago. Adrian's face went pale. Sophia. Your daughter was Sophia Rossi. You remember. Vincent's grip on Mia tightened, making her whimper. Good. Then you remember she was innocent, that she died because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time when your war with the Castellanos went hot. I remember. Adrian's voice was hollow. I remember everything about that night. And I'm sorry, Vincent. Sorrier than you'll ever know. But Sophia's death was an accident, collateral damage I would give anything to undo. An accident? Vincent's laugh was unhinged. My baby died in a crossfire because you couldn't control your people, and you call it an accident? Lena watched this unfold with rising horror. Mia was crying silently, eyes huge with fear, and every instinct screamed at Lena to grab her daughter and run. But James had his weapon trained on Vincent, and any sudden movement could end in disaster. Vincent, please. Adrian took a step closer. Sophia's death destroyed me. It's the reason I left that life. The reason I spent 2 years dismantling everything. Because I couldn't live with what my choices had cost. Liar! Vincent's voice rose. You left because you lost your woman, not because you cared about my daughter. I left because I realized I'd become someone who got innocent people killed. Adrian's control finally cracked. Because I looked at what I'd built and saw it was poison. Because Sophia Rossi was 23 years old and had her whole life ahead of her, and she died because of me. So yes, I left. I changed everything, but nothing I do will ever bring her back, and I have to live with that every single day. So do I. Vincent's voice broke. Every single day, I wake up and remember my baby is gone. And now you get a second chance? You get a daughter while mine is in the ground? Killing her won't bring Sophia back. Adrian's voice was gentle now, compassionate. It'll just create more pain, more death, more fathers who have to live with losing their children. Good. Then you'll understand what I've been living with. Please. Lena heard herself speak, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. Please don't hurt her. She's 3 years old. She's innocent, just like your daughter was innocent. Don't make her pay for Adrian's mistakes. Vincent looked at Lena for the first time, really looked at her, and she saw something crack in his expression. You're her mother. I am. And I know what it's like to be terrified for your child. I know what it's like to lie awake at night worrying about all the ways the world could hurt them. Lena took a careful step forward. I can't imagine losing her. Can't imagine the pain you've lived with, but hurting Mia won't ease it. It'll just spread it to another parent, another child who doesn't deserve to suffer. She's his daughter. She's part of him. She's also part of me. And she's entirely herself. A little girl who loves cookies and stories and making people smile. A little girl who hasn't hurt anyone. Lena's voice broke. Please, let her go. Take me instead if you need to hurt someone. But let her go. No. Adrian's voice was sharp. Lena, don't. She's my daughter. Lena cut him off. I will do whatever it takes to keep her safe, even if that means taking her place. Vincent stared at her, weapon wavering. Mia was sobbing now, reaching for Lena with desperate hands. And Lena saw the exact moment Vincent's resolve crumbled, saw him look at this terrified 3-year-old and see his own daughter, saw him realize what he was about to become. I'm sorry. Vincent's voice was thick with tears. I'm so sorry. I miss her so much. He lowered the gun, and James moved instantly. In seconds, Vincent was disarmed and on the ground, and Lena was pulling Mia into her arms. Her daughter clung to her, shaking and crying, and Lena felt rage and relief and terror crash over her in waves. Adrian was on the phone, his voice clipped and commanding as he arranged for police and medical and whatever else was needed. But his eyes never left Mia, and Lena saw genuine fear there. Fear that had nothing to do with his own safety, and everything to do with the small girl crying in her mother's arms. I've got you, baby. Lena rocked Mia, pressing kisses to her hair. I've got you. You're safe now. I promise you're safe. I want Adrian. Mia's voice was muffled against Lena's shoulder. Where's Adrian? I'm here. Adrian was beside them instantly, carefully pulling both Lena and Mia into his arms. I'm right here, sweet girl. You're safe. I won't let anything happen to you ever again. You promise? I promise. Adrian's voice was fierce. No one will ever hurt you. I swear it. James had Vincent secured and sirens were approaching outside. The police would come, would take statements, would process this like any other break-in. But Lena knew this was so much more. This was Adrian's past reaching out to destroy the future he was trying to build. This was proof that leaving that world didn't mean the world had left him. After the police finally left, after Vincent had been taken away still crying about his daughter, after Mia had finally cried herself to sleep in a different bedroom far from the broken window, Lena and Adrian sat in the living room and faced each other. This is what I was afraid of. Lena's voice was flat. This is exactly why I ran 4 years ago, because your past doesn't stay in the past. It follows you. It finds you. And it almost cost our daughter her life tonight. I know. Adrian looked broken. I know, and I'm sorry. Sorrier than I can ever express. But Lena, I swear to you, Vincent was the last loose end. The last person who had reason to come after me. How can you possibly know that? Because I've spent 4 years making amends, paying restitution to families who were hurt by my actions. Sophia's mother received a settlement that set her up for life, but Vincent refused to take anything from me. I tried to help him, tried to reach out, but he wanted nothing to do with blood money. Adrian ran his hands through his hair. I should have pushed harder. Should have made sure he was okay. This is on me. Everything is on you. Lena's control finally shattered. Your choices, your past, your enemies, they all came here tonight and almost killed our daughter. So don't tell me it's over. Don't tell me we're safe, because I will never believe that again. What do you want me to do? Adrian's voice rose to match hers. I can't change the past. I can't undo the things I did or the people I hurt. All I can do is try to be better, try to make amends, try to build something good out of the wreckage. That's not enough. Being better doesn't protect Mia from the next Vincent Rossi who decides you owe them blood. Then what? Adrian stood, pacing with barely controlled fury. You want me to walk away? Disappear from her life? Pretend she doesn't exist so my past can't touch her? Maybe. The word burst out before Lena could stop it. Maybe that's exactly what needs to happen. Maybe the only way to keep her safe is to keep you away from her. The silence that followed was devastating. Adrian stopped pacing, stopped moving, stopped breathing. He just stared at Lena with an expression of such profound pain that she immediately wanted to take it back. You don't mean that, he finally said. I don't know what I mean. Lena's voice broke. I just know that I can't go through this again. Can't watch someone hold a gun to my daughter's head and know it's because of choices you made before she was even born. Those choices haunt me every day. Adrian's voice was raw. Every single day I wake up and remember the things I've done, the people I've hurt, and I try to be better. I try to make amends. But you're right, some things can't be fixed. Some damage is permanent. So what do we do? I don't know. Adrian sank back into his chair, looking more defeated than Lena had ever seen him. I love her, Lena. I love her more than I've ever loved anything. But if being in her life puts her in danger, don't. Lena cut him off. Don't you dare finish that sentence. Don't you dare offer to walk away like that's some noble sacrifice. You think Mia would understand that? You think she'd thank you for disappearing to keep her safe? What else can I do? You can fight, Lena heard herself shout. You can stop making decisions based on fear and start making them based on what's right for her. You can be her father, really be her father, and deal with whatever comes. Even if what comes is more Vincent Rosses, more threats, more danger? Yes! Lena was crying now, tears streaming down her face. Because the alternative is her growing up without a father who loves her. The alternative is you walking away and her spending the rest of her life wondering why she wasn't worth staying for. Adrian stared at her, something shifting in his expression. You're not talking about just Mia, are you? The observation pierced through Lena's defenses. What? You're talking about your father, the one who left when you were 6. Lena felt like she'd been punched. How do you... You told me 4 years ago, one night when we were talking about family. Adrian's voice was gentle. You told me he walked away because taking care of you was too hard, that he chose the easier path. That's different. Is it? Because it sounds like you're terrified I'm going to do the same thing. Walk away from Mia because being her father is complicated and dangerous. Aren't you? Lena challenged. Isn't that what you were just offering to do? Disappear to keep her safe? I was offering to do what I thought you wanted, what I thought would make you feel better. Adrian's voice rose again. But you're right. Walking away would destroy her, and it would destroy me too. So no, Lena, I'm not leaving. I'm not disappearing. I'm staying, and I'm being her father, and we're going to figure out how to deal with whatever comes, together. Together? Yes, together. Because like it or not, we're both her parents, and we both love her, and we're both going to do whatever it takes to keep her safe and happy and whole. Adrian crossed to her, kneeling in front of her chair. I'm not your father, Lena. I'm not going to abandon our daughter because things get hard. I'm staying for as long as she'll have me, for as long as you'll let me be part of her life. Lena looked at him through her tears and saw absolute conviction, saw a man who'd made terrible choices fighting desperately to make better ones, saw a father who'd known his daughter for a week, willing to risk everything to stay in her life. She asked for you, Lena whispered. When she was scared and crying, she asked for you, not just me. You too. I know. Adrian's voice was thick with emotion. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure she knows she can always ask for me, always count on me, that I will always be there. Promise me. Lena gripped his hands. Promise me you won't walk away, that you'll fight for her, that you'll be the father she deserves no matter how hard it gets. I promise. Adrian pulled her close and Lena let him, too exhausted and scared and relieved to resist. I promise, Lena, I'm not going anywhere, ever. They stayed like that for a long time, holding each other in the dark living room while their daughter slept down the hall. And for the first time since that morning in the cafe, Lena let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. Morning light filtered through the curtains, soft and forgiving in a way the night had not been. Lena woke on the couch, disoriented until she remembered falling asleep there after hours of talking with Adrian. He was gone now, but a blanket had been tucked around her shoulders, and she could hear voices from the kitchen. She found Adrian making pancakes while Mia sat on the counter, swinging her legs and giving very serious instructions about the proper ratio of chocolate chips to batter. More chocolate chips, Adrian. Way more. If I put in any more, these will be chocolate with a little bit of pancake. That's perfect. Mia grinned, and Lena's heart clenched at how normal this looked. How right. Adrian noticed her in the doorway, and something warm passed between them. Good morning. Coffee's fresh. Thank you. Lena poured herself a cup, trying to reconcile last night's terror with this peaceful domestic scene. How long have you two been up? Forever, Mia announced dramatically. Like 100 hours. 45 minutes, Adrian corrected with a smile. But in 3-year-old time, that's basically forever. We've already discussed the weather, what makes clouds, and why puppies are better than kittens. Puppies are definitely better, Mia insisted. I don't know about that, Lena said, settling onto a stool. Kittens are pretty great. Mama, Mia looked betrayed. You're supposed to be on my side. I'm always on your side, sweet girl. I just also happen to like kittens. They ate breakfast together, the conversation light and easy, and Lena marveled at how Adrian had managed to make Mia feel safe again. There was no mention of broken windows or scary men, no acknowledgement of the trauma from 12 hours ago. Just pancakes and chocolate chips, and a little girl who felt secure enough to argue about pets. After breakfast, while Mia was absorbed in coloring at the dining table, Adrian pulled Lena aside. We need to talk about what happens next. Lena's stomach tightened. Okay. The window's being repaired today. I've tripled security on the building, and I've made arrangements to ensure nothing like last night ever happens again. Adrian's voice was measured. But I also need to know what you want. Do you want to go back to your apartment? Stay here? Something else entirely? I don't know. Lena wrapped her arms around herself. Last night, I would have said I wanted to pack up and run as far as we could get, but this morning what? This morning, I watched you make pancakes with our daughter, and it felt like maybe we could actually do this, build something together. Lena met his gaze. But I'm still scared, Adrian. Terrified, actually. Of me. Of what being with you means. Of the risks. Of how much it would hurt Mia if this doesn't work out. Adrian was quiet for a moment. What if I asked you to stay, not because of danger or threats or protection, but because I want you both in my life? Really, in my life. As a family. Lena's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to be Mia's father. Full-time, present, involved. I want to adopt her legally, give her my name, make sure she knows she's mine, and I'm hers. Adrian stepped closer. And I want you to give me a chance to prove I can be someone you trust, someone you can build a life with. Adrian, I know it's fast. I know we have history that's complicated and messy. But Lena, these past few days with you both have been the best of my life. And I don't want to go back to the way things were. I can't. What about my apartment? My job? Mia's routine? Keep them all if you want, or change them. I'm not asking you to give up your life. I'm asking you to let me be part of it. Adrian's voice was earnest. We can figure out the details together, but I need to know if you're willing to try. Lena thought about the past week, about watching Adrian transform from a threat to a father, about seeing him gentle with Mia, protective of them both, willing to change everything to be better, about the way her daughter's face lit up when he walked into a room. I need time, she said finally. Time to process everything. Time to figure out what's best for Mia. How much time? I don't know. A few weeks? A month? Adrian nodded slowly. Okay. Take the time you need. But while you're thinking, stay here. Let me show you what this could look like. Let Mia get to know me better. And if at the end of it you decide you want to go back to your old life, I won't stop you. But I'll still want to be part of Mia's life. We'll work out custody and visitation and whatever else we need to make that happen. You'd really let us go? Just like that? If that's what you needed, yes. But I'm hoping you'll choose to stay. Before Lena could respond, Mia called out from the dining room. Mama, Adrian, come look at my picture. They went together and Mia showed them a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands. That's you, and that's me, and that's Adrian. We're a family. Lena felt tears prick her eyes. Adrian crouched down beside Mia, his expression soft. That's a beautiful picture, Mia. Can I keep it? Yes, you can put it in your office. Then you'll see it every day and remember us. I could never forget you. Adrian's voice was thick, not for a single second. Watching them together, Lena felt something shift in her chest. This was real. Adrian's love for Mia, Mia's trust in Adrian, the way they fit together like pieces that had always been meant to connect. And maybe she was part of that equation too. Maybe she could let herself trust this, trust him, trust that the future could be different from the past. The next week passed in a blur of domesticity that felt surreal. Adrian worked from home more, joining them for breakfast and dinner, reading bedtime stories with theatrical flair that made Mia giggle. Lena watched him navigate fatherhood with growing confidence, asking questions when he was unsure, deferring to her judgment on things like bedtime and vegetables, but also asserting himself in ways that showed he was taking this seriously. They fell into a rhythm. Mornings together, afternoons where Lena worked remotely while Mia played, evenings as a family. And slowly, carefully, Lena felt her walls coming down, felt herself starting to trust that this could work. On Saturday, Adrian suggested a trip to the zoo, the outing they'd planned before Vincent had shattered more than just a window. Are you sure it's safe? Lena asked. James will be with us, and I promise nothing will happen. We'll just be a normal family having a normal day. The zoo was crowded despite the cold, families bundled in winter coats enjoying the last decent weekend before December's bitter chills set in. Mia was beside herself with excitement, dragging them from exhibit to exhibit, asking 1,000 questions about every animal. Why do penguins waddle? Why are tigers orange? Can bears really hibernate for months? Adrian answered each question with patience, and when he didn't know the answer, he admitted it and they looked it up together. Lena watched them read an information plaque about polar bears, Mia's small hand and Adrian's large one, and felt something warm bloom in her chest. You're good with her, she said when Mia ran ahead to see the sea lions. She makes it easy. Adrian's gaze followed their daughter. I keep waiting for it to feel overwhelming, but it doesn't. It just feels right. Even the hard parts? The questions at 2 a.m, the tantrums when she doesn't get her way, the constant negotiations over vegetables? Especially those parts, because they mean I'm here for all of it, not just the fun moments. Adrian looked at Lena. I want all of it, Lena. Every tantrum, every question, every messy, complicated, beautiful moment. Why? The question came out softer than she intended. Why does this matter so much to you? Adrian was quiet for a long moment, watching Mia laugh at the sea lions. Because for most of my life, I built things that destroyed, businesses that hurt people, relationships based on fear, an empire that left bodies in its wake. And then she exists. He gestured toward Mia, this perfect little person who's part of me but completely untouched by all the terrible things I've done. And being her father, really being her father, feels like a chance to create something good, something that matters in a way nothing else ever has. Lena felt tears sting her eyes. She already loves you, you know, completely and unconditionally, the way kids love. I know, and it terrifies me. Because what if I mess this up? What if I make the wrong choice and hurt her? What if... Adrian. Lena cut him off, surprising herself by taking his hand. You're going to mess up. That's part of being a parent, but the fact that you're scared of hurting her means you're going to try your hardest not to. And that's all any of us can do. His hand tightened on hers. Thank you for giving me this chance, for trusting me with her. I'm trying to trust you with both of us, Lena admitted. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying. That's all I'm asking. They spent hours at the zoo until Mia was yawning and dragging her feet. James drove them home, and Lena felt the rightness of it, this sense of family, of belonging, of being part of something bigger than just her and Mia against the world. That night, after Mia was asleep, Lena found Adrian on the balcony despite the cold. He was staring out at the city lights, looking pensive. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked. Adrian smiled. "Just thinking about how much has changed in 2 weeks, how completely my life has transformed." "Mine too." Lena leaned against the railing beside him. 2 weeks ago, I was convinced you were the biggest threat to Mia's safety. Now you're making her pancakes and teaching her about polar bears. Do you still think I'm a threat? Lena considered the question honestly. I think you're a risk, but maybe the good kind, the kind worth taking. I'll take that. Adrian's voice was warm. It's better than where we started. Much better. Lena turned to face him. Adrian, I need to tell you something about why I really ran 4 years ago. Okay. It wasn't just the phone call, wasn't just realizing what you did for a living. Lena took a breath. It was because I was falling in love with you. Really, deeply in love. And that terrified me more than anything else. Adrian went very still. Lena, let me finish. I've spent my whole life being careful, building walls, making sure I never needed anyone too much because everyone eventually leaves. And then you came along and demolished every defense I had. You made me feel things I'd never felt, made me want things I'd convinced myself I didn't need. And when I realized I was pregnant, when I understood what it would mean to tie myself to you forever, I panicked. Because loving you meant trusting you, and trust has never come easy for me. And now? Adrian's voice was barely a whisper. Now I'm trying to be brave, trying to believe that maybe this time the risk is worth it, that maybe you really have changed, and maybe we could actually build something real. Adrian cupped her face in his hands, his touch gentle despite the intensity in his eyes. I love you, Lena. I've loved you since before you left, and I've loved you every day since. I know I have no right to ask for a second chance after everything I've done, but I'm asking anyway. Not just to be Mia's father, but to be part of your life too. To build something together that's stronger than our past. I love you too, Lena whispered. I'm scared to, but I do. Then be scared with me. We'll figure it out together. Adrian kissed her then, gentle and careful and full of promise, and Lena kissed him back, letting herself hope that maybe this time love would be enough. The following weeks transformed their tentative arrangement into something that felt increasingly permanent. Adrian formally filed for paternity and began the adoption process, working with lawyers to establish his rights while being respectful of Lena's role as Mia's primary parent. They established routines, breakfast together every morning, dinner as a family most nights, weekends split between adventures and quiet time at home. Mia flourished under the attention of 2 parents who adored her. She started calling Adrian Daddy without prompting, the word slipping out naturally one morning over pancakes. Adrian had frozen, eyes shining with tears, and Mia had looked worried until he'd swept her into a hug and told her she'd just given him the best gift of his life. Lena went back to work at the flower shop part-time, and Adrian surprised her by buying the building and ensuring Margaret could keep running the business without worry of rent increases. It was a grand gesture that might have felt controlling if he hadn't presented it as an investment in something Lena loved rather than a way to influence her choices. I'm not trying to control your life, he'd said when she'd questioned the purchase. I'm trying to make your life easier. There's a difference. And if I decide I want to do something else, open my own shop or change careers entirely, then I'll support that too. This isn't about keeping you in one place, Lena. It's about giving you options. She'd believed him, was learning to believe him about most things, actually. The process was slow, marked by moments of doubt and old fears resurfacing. But Adrian was patient. He answered her questions honestly, including the hard ones about his past. He showed her financial records proving his legitimate businesses were thriving. He introduced her to people from his new life, business partners, friends, the lawyer handling his adoption petition. 2 months after that morning in the café, Adrian asked Lena and Mia to join him for lunch at his office. They arrived to find him waiting with a folder and an expression that was part nervous, part hopeful. What's this? Lena asked as Mia immediately started exploring the office with its fascinating grown-up supplies. The adoption papers. They're ready to be filed. Adrian opened the folder, showing her documents that would legally make him Mia's father. But before I submit them, I wanted your blessing. Really, your blessing, not just legal agreement. Lena read through the papers, seeing her daughter's name next to Adrian's, seeing the permanence this would create. You're sure about this? Once you file these, you're committed. You can't walk away. I've never been more sure of anything. Adrian's voice was firm. Mia is my daughter. I want that recognized legally, but more importantly, I want her to know she can count on me forever, that I'm choosing her, permanently and without reservation. She's gonna have your name. If that's okay with you, Mia Moretti. Adrian tested the sound. I like how it sounds. But if you'd rather she keep Carter or hyphenate, I'm open to that too. Lena thought about it, about what this meant, about the little girl who'd lived her whole life as Mia Carter becoming Mia Moretti, about tying her daughter to this man in the most permanent way possible. Mia Moretti, she said finally. It does sound right. Adrian's smile was brilliant. Thank you for trusting me with this, with her. Just promise me one more time that you're not going anywhere. That when things get hard, when being a father is exhausting and thankless and frustrating, you won't bail. I promise. Adrian took her hands. I'm here for every moment, Lena. Every good day and every hard one. Every milestone and every setback. I'm her father, and that's forever. Mia chose that moment to discover Adrian's office chair, spinning in circles and shrieking with delight. They both laughed, and Adrian went to help her before she spun herself dizzy. Watching them together, Lena felt the last of her resistance crumble. This was her family now. Imperfect, complicated, built on second chances and hard-won trust, but real. The adoption was finalized on a Tuesday in March. The judge was kind, asking Mia simple questions about whether she wanted Adrian to be her daddy officially, and Mia had nodded enthusiastically. He already is my daddy. We're just making it official. The judge had smiled and signed the papers, and just like that, Adrian Moretti became Mia's legal father. They celebrated at Mia's favorite pizza place, and Lena watched her daughter glow under the attention of both her parents, secure in a way she'd never quite been before. That night, after Mia was asleep, Adrian found Lena on the balcony again, their spot for serious conversations. I have something else to ask you, he said, sounding nervous in a way she rarely heard from him. Okay. Move in with me. Officially, not because of danger or protection or temporary arrangements, but because this is your home too. Because I want to wake up with you here every morning and know that we're building this life together. Lena had known this was coming, but still felt her heart race. That's a big step. It is. And I know you might not be ready. But Lena, I love you. I'm in love with you. And I want us to be a real family, not just co-parents who happen to live together, but partners. People who choose each other every day. What if it doesn't work? What if we drive each other crazy? Then we'll figure it out. We'll argue and compromise and learn how to be together. But I'd rather try and struggle than play it safe and wonder what we could have had. Lena looked at him, this man who'd changed everything, and made her choice. Okay. Okay? Okay, I'll move in, officially, as your partner, not just Mia's mom. Adrian pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was precious. Thank you for taking this chance, for trusting me with your heart and Mia's. Don't make me regret it, Lena warned, but she was smiling. Never, I promise. They moved her things from the apartment the following weekend, Mia helping by carrying her stuffed animals and giving directions on where everything should go. The transition was surprisingly smooth, and within a week, it felt like they'd always lived this way, like this had always been home. Spring came to Chicago with tentative warmth and the promise of new beginnings. They fell into a life that felt both extraordinary and wonderfully ordinary. School applications for Mia's pre-K program, weekend trips to the park, dinner with friends who marveled at how different Adrian seemed from the man they'd known years ago. One Saturday morning, Lena woke to find Adrian's side of the bed empty. She found him in Mia's room, sitting in the rocking chair and watching their daughter sleep. You okay? she whispered. Adrian startled slightly, then smiled, just thinking about how lucky I am. How close I came to missing all of this. Lena joined him, perching on the arm of the chair. But you didn't miss it. You're here now. Because you gave me a chance, because you were brave enough to trust me. We were both brave. You changed your whole life. That took courage too. Adrian pulled her down onto his lap, and they sat together in the darkness, watching their daughter sleep. Outside, the city was waking up, but in this moment the world was just the three of them. "Marry me," Adrian said suddenly. Lena's breath caught. "What?" "Marry me. Not because we have to, not to make things easier legally, but because I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Because I want Mia to grow up seeing what it looks like when two people choose each other every day. Because I love you, and I want everyone to know it. Adrian, I don't have a ring yet. I was going to plan this better, make it romantic and perfect, but sitting here with you and Mia, I realize this is perfect. This moment. Right now. So marry me, Lena. Be my wife. Let's build this family completely." Lena looked at this man who'd turned her world upside down and somehow made it better. Who'd proven that people could change, that second chances were worth taking, that love could grow even in the wreckage of past mistakes. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." Adrian kissed her then, gentle and thorough and full of promises for the future. When they pulled apart, Mia was awake, watching them with sleepy confusion. "Why are you kissing in my room?" she asked. "Because I just asked your mama to marry me, and she said yes," Adrian explained. Mia's eyes went wide. "Really? We're going to be a forever family?" "We already are a forever family, sweet girl. This just makes it official." Mia launched herself at them, and they caught her together, the three of them tangled in the rocking chair, laughing and crying and holding each other close. 6 months later, they stood in a small garden ceremony surrounded by people who mattered. Margaret cried through the entire wedding. James stood as Adrian's best man, looking uncomfortable in a tux, but genuinely happy for his employer. And Mia served as flower girl, taking her job very seriously and only stopping to wave at Adrian twice during the processional. Lena wore a simple cream dress, and Adrian looked devastating in a charcoal suit, and when they said their vows, there wasn't a dry eye in the garden. "I promise to choose you every day," Adrian said, "to be the partner you deserve and the father Mia needs, to build our life on truth and trust and love that's stronger than our past." "I promise to trust you with my heart," Lena responded, "to be brave enough to stay when things get hard, and to believe in us even when I'm scared. To build this family with you, one day at a time." They sealed their promises with a kiss, and Mia cheered louder than anyone, proud of her parents for making it official. The reception was small and perfect. They danced under string lights as the sun set, Mia spinning between them, and Lena felt a peace she'd never known before. This was home, not the apartment or the penthouse, but wherever the three of them were together. Later that night, after the guests had left and Mia was asleep in the hotel room they'd booked for the occasion, Lena and Adrian stood on the balcony and looked out at the city. "No regrets?" Adrian asked. "Not a single one. You?" "Only that I didn't find you sooner, that I wasted time being someone who scared you away." "But you found us eventually, and you became someone worth staying for." Lena leaned into him. "That's what matters." "We should take a trip," Adrian said suddenly. "The three of us. Somewhere Mia's never been. Start building those memories I promised her at the park." "Where?" "Anywhere you want. Europe, Asia, or just a cabin in the woods where we can be together without the world watching. I don't care where we go as long as we're together." "A cabin sounds perfect. Somewhere quiet where Mia can run around and we can just be a normal family." "There's nothing normal about us," Adrian teased, "but I'll take it." They booked the cabin for the following month, and it became the first of many trips. They built a life together filled with ordinary moments that felt extraordinary because they'd fought so hard for them. Breakfast together every morning, bedtime stories every night, weekend adventures and quiet evenings at home. Mia started pre-K and made friends who came over for playdates, and Lena watched Adrian navigate the world of other parents with the same intensity he'd once brought to business negotiations. He learned the names of every kid in Mia's class, volunteered for field trips, and showed up for every performance and recital like being there was the most important thing in the world. because to him, it was. 2 years after that morning in the cafe, they were walking through Lincoln Park on a Sunday afternoon. Mia ran ahead, chasing a butterfly, and Lena and Adrian followed hand in hand. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Lena asked. "If I'd never run, or if you'd never found us?" "All the time. But then I remember that we're here now, and that's what matters." Adrian squeezed her hand. "Every choice we made led us to this moment, to Mia laughing about butterflies and us being together, and I wouldn't change any of it. Not even the hard parts? Especially not the hard parts. They taught us what we needed to know. They made us ready for this." Mia ran back to them, butterfly forgotten, and grabbed both their hands. "Come on! I want to show you the big tree!" They let her pull them forward, and Lena caught Adrian's eye over their daughter's head. He smiled at her, and she smiled back. And in that moment, everything felt exactly right. They'd started as strangers forced together by circumstance, had become enemies separated by fear, had transformed into partners building something new from the ruins of old mistakes. And now they were simply family. 3 people who'd chosen each other despite every reason not to, who'd proven that love was stronger than fear and second chances were worth fighting for. As they walked through the park with no guards in sight, no threats hanging over them, no secrets between them, Lena realized something profound. She'd spent 4 years running from Adrian to keep Mia safe. But safety wasn't about distance or hiding or protecting her daughter from risk. Safety was this: being with people who loved her unconditionally, having a father who showed up every single day, building a life on truth instead of lies. Safety was choosing to stay. And looking at her family, her husband, her daughter, the life they'd built together, Lena knew she'd finally made the right choice. Not because it was easy or safe or perfect, but because it was real. Because they were real. Because some things were worth fighting for. Some people were worth trusting, and some families were worth building, even when the foundation was cracked and the path was uncertain. They walked home together as the sun set over Chicago, 3 people who'd found each other against all odds and chosen to stay. And in the end, that choice, the choice to love, to trust, to build something beautiful from broken pieces, was the only one that mattered.